Have you ever imagined building your entire life in the United States, working hard, raising a family, and still being treated like a criminal? This is Miguel's story, an immigrant who arrived with a dream, but was reported by a racist neighbor. After years of honesty and sacrifice, he was torn from his home, separated from his wife and American-born son, and deported without a chance to defend himself. In this video, you'll feel the pain of a shattered family, the fight against a ruthless system, and the courage of a man who, even behind bars and far from home, never lost hope. Get ready to hear a true story, exposing brutal injustice and showing that sometimes the real crime is simply existing. Stay with me until the end. This story needs to be heard. In 2007, Miguel Torres crossed the border from Mexico into the United States, hiding under a tarp in an old pickup truck. He was 23 years old, with only one goal: to send money to his mother and two brothers in Oaxaca. He arrived in El Paso, Texas, and after a long, silent journey, ended up on a dusty street on the outskirts of Lubbock, Texas. There, he found shelter in a house with 5 other immigrants. They slept on mattresses on the floor and took turns with household chores. Miguel, with his gentle demeanor and shy smile, quickly earned everyone's respect. "Mano, you're the only one who wakes up at 5 a.m. with a smile on his face," said Rafael, a Guatemalan friend. Miguel started as a construction helper. Over time, he learned basic English and gained the trust of his boss, who gradually promoted him. On weekends, he cleaned neighbors' yards, always receiving praise for his work. It was in one of those yards that he met Emily. She was a babysitter, an American, granddaughter of Irish immigrants. She had blue eyes, short hair, and spoke with a firmness that enchanted Miguel. They started talking shyly, and soon were taking walks together at sunset. 2 years later, they lived together in a small rented trailer. Life was simple, but happy. In 2012, Noah was born. Miguel cried the first time he held his son. "I promise I'll give you everything, my son," he whispered in Spanish. They moved into a modest house in a mostly white, conservative neighborhood. Miguel now worked as a construction foreman, and to those who didn't know his status, he was just a hard-working father like any other. But not everyone saw it that way.
Miguel's house was at the end of a quiet street, with well-kept gardens and American flags waving on several porches. To the left lived Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly widow who loved playing with Noah and often brought cakes whenever Emily had a birthday. But to the right lived Walter Dean. Walter was a man in his early 60s, a retired white police officer with a thick mustache and a stern expression. His house was surrounded by a flawless white picket fence, which he washed every Friday like it was a ritual. From the start, Miguel felt Walter's suspicious gaze piercing through the fence slats. "He doesn't like people like us," Emily would say, crossing her arms whenever Walter looked away when she waved. Once, Miguel was mowing the lawn when Noah ran off with the turned-off lawnmower, chasing a ball into the neighbor's yard. Walter stormed out of his door. "Hey, keep your kid off my property." Miguel raised his hands calmly. "Sorry, sir, it was unintentional. I don't care. I've seen this kind of thing before. One invades, then they all come." From then on, Walter started watching closely. He took down license plates, snapped photos of the yard, and muttered to himself whenever he saw Miguel unloading bags of cement from his truck. One day, Miguel came home to find an anonymous note pinned to the door. "We know who you are." Emily was frightened, but Miguel tried to stay calm. "It's just a neighbor with anger. It'll pass." But Walter didn't want it to pass. He wanted Miguel gone, and he already had a plan. On a hot June Tuesday morning, Miguel left the house at 6 a.m. as usual. He kissed Emily on the forehead, hugged sleepy Noah, and grabbed his tools. He didn't notice the white pickup truck parked a block away. Nor did he see Walter talking on the phone in his yard, staring intently as the car drove off. That afternoon, Emily went to pick up Noah from school and, on her way back, found two men in dark suits with badges hanging from their necks at the door. One of them, a white man with a shaved head and a blank stare, stepped forward. "Good afternoon. Are you Emily Collins?" "Yes. Is there a problem?" "We're here on behalf of Immigration. We received a report that a foreign citizen is living here illegally. May we come in?" Emily froze. She tried to take a deep breath. "My partner isn't home right now, and you don't have a warrant." The agent gave a slight smile, as if he had expected that. "Very well. We'll be back." When Miguel arrived home, there were already 2 missed calls, and Emily's eyes were watery. "They came here, Miguel. ICE. Someone reported us." Miguel closed his eyes slowly. He knew. It was Walter. No proof was needed. "It's just a visit. They won't find me doing anything wrong." "You don't understand, love. They don't care what you do. They only care who you are." Across the street, Walter watched through his window. The TV's light reflected on the glass. He didn't blink. The wheels were in motion. Now all he had to do was wait.
Miguel woke up earlier than usual on that Friday morning. Something heavy weighed on his chest, like wet concrete. Emily insisted he stay home, but he refused with a calm kiss. "If I hide, it's like I've already lost." Noah gave him a tight hug. "Daddy, can I go with you?" Miguel smiled. "Not today, Campeon. But Sunday, we'll go to the park, I promise." At 10:23 a.m., while Miguel supervised the assembly of a metal structure at a construction site downtown Lubbock, 3 black SUVs stopped across the street. 4 ICE agents stepped out, wearing vests and tense expressions. The construction site fell silent. One of the workers shouted, "Miguel! ICE!" He tried to stay calm, raising his hands slowly. He didn't run. He didn't speak. He knew every move could be used against him. "Miguel Torres," one of the agents asked. He nodded quietly. "You are under arrest for violation of United States immigration laws. You have the right to remain silent." The following words were drowned out by the sound of tools dropping and murmurs in Spanish. Miguel was handcuffed in front of everyone. One agent took photos. Another searched his backpack. As he was taken away, Miguel saw the Texas blue sky through the tinted window. He thought of Noah. He thought of Emily. The news arrived at home by text from a coworker. They took him. Emily ran to the kitchen, knocking over a chair. Noah asked, "Mommy, where's Daddy?" She didn't know what to say. She just fell to her knees, the phone still buzzing in her hand. Across the street, Walter was watering his flowers, whistling an old tune. Miguel was taken to the detention center in El Paso, nearly 500 miles from home. For the first 48 hours, Emily heard nothing. On the 3rd day, she finally managed to speak with him on the phone. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm alive, but they treat us like animals, Emily." She took a deep breath, trying to hold back tears so as not to scare Noah, who listened silently in her lap. "We'll get a lawyer. We'll fight." Emily took out a bank loan, emptied her savings account, and hired the only immigration attorney in the area willing to take the case, Rosa Hernandez, a tough and experienced lawyer, daughter of Mexican immigrants. "We have a problem," Rosa said at their first meeting. "He has a good record, no criminal history, American family, but no documents, and the government is cracking down.
"But he's the father of an American citizen," Emily exclaimed. "That helps, but it doesn't stop deportation, especially when there's a formal complaint with false allegations. They say he was involved in a tools theft in the neighborhood last month." Miguel was shocked. Emily immediately knew. Walter. "They're making it up." "Yes," Rosa said, "but proving it's a lie takes time, and here, time is what FICE doesn't like to give." Miguel spent his days locked in a cell with 6 other men, sharing a bed and a bathroom. Every sound of a key made him stand up. Every step in the hall felt like a warning that the end was near. One quiet night, he wrote to Noah, "Son, Daddy loves you. Be strong, and never, ever be afraid to be who you are." Emily kept that letter as if it were a piece of Miguel still alive.
2 weeks later, Miguel was taken, handcuffed, to the immigration court. He wore an orange jumpsuit and tried to keep his head held high. Emily sat in the front row, holding Noah on her lap, next to Rosa. She clenched her fingers as if holding her own heart. The judge, a gray-haired, apathetic man, silently reviewed the documents. "Mr. Torres, you entered the United States illegally in 2007. Is that true?" "Yes, Your Honor. But since then, I've worked, paid taxes, and have a family." "I'm not interested in emotions. I'm interested in the law." Rosa stood up. "Your Honor, Mr. Torres is the father of a U.S. citizen with no criminal record. He contributes to the community. This complaint is suspicious and motivated by discrimination. We are requesting cancellation of removal based on exceptional and extreme hardship to the minor child." The judge sighed. "There are allegations of involvement in theft of tools." "No proof," Rosa countered. "The complainant is a neighbor with a history of intolerance." Emily impulsively stood up. "He has never harmed anyone. He is the best father my son could have. He is my family." The judge said nothing. He just jotted something down and stood up. "We will return with a decision within 30 days. Miguel looked at Noah and smiled, still handcuffed. "I love you, champion." Noah ran to hug him but was stopped by a security guard. Miguel stopped, raised his hands, and stepped back slowly. The sound of chains echoed like a sentence. Across the street, Walter was watching from a distance. Wearing sunglasses and a hat, he was there to make sure Miguel was gone for good. For him, this wasn't just a complaint. It was revenge against a changing world, and he hated it. 30 days passed like years. Emily barely slept. Noah cried at night, calling for his dad. Miguel, locked behind cold walls, counted the days by the cracks in the ceiling. Then, on a cloudy morning, the phone rang. "Emily, this is Rosa. The judge has issued the decision." Emily sat down on the couch, struggling to breathe. "Miguel is going to be deported." The words fell like stones. Emily was silent. Noah, drawing on the floor, looked up at his mother with confused eyes. "When will Daddy come back?" She tried to smile, but failed. Rosa explained. The court recognized the family ties but argued that the continued illegal presence combined with the nature of the allegations, even if unproven, justified removal in the interest of public welfare. "We'll appeal," Rosa said, "but he can be removed at any time. We need to prepare." Emily hung up without replying. She walked to Miguel's room where he still kept his tools, his worn Bible, and a shirt with the name Torres Construction. At the detention center, Miguel received the news with an empty look. He didn't cry. He just sat there, staring at the letter he'd written to Noah. That night, for the first time, he asked to speak with Walter. "What do you want with that man?" the guard asked, surprised. "I just want to look him in the eye." The request was denied. Miguel then wrote a second letter, this time addressed to Walter Dean. You took everything from me. But you didn't win, because my son will grow up proud of the father he had. And one day, he will remember you and who you were." On the other side of town, Walter read the letter. He hesitated for a moment, but didn't tear it up. He just locked it away in a drawer.
The deportation was scheduled for a cold November morning. Emily and Noah arrived early at the detention center. The sun hadn't risen yet. The parking lot was almost empty, except for a white immigration bus with its engine running and tinted windows. Miguel appeared, escorted by 2 agents. He was thin, but his gaze was still strong. He wore a shirt Emily had brought weeks earlier, light blue, with the cuffs rolled up. When Noah saw him, he ran with all the strength his little legs could muster. "Daddy!" Miguel knelt down, tears welling in his eyes. He hugged his son with all his might. "You are my pride, my champion. Take care of your mom, okay?" "I want to go with you!" Miguel held his son's face with both hands. "You have to stay. Your life is here. You will grow up and change this place. You will do what Daddy never could." Emily approached, trembling. "Wait for me, Miguel. We'll find a way." "Don't wait, love. Fight. For yourself, for him, for us." The agent warned, "Time to go." Miguel hugged them both for the last time. Then he turned away. He didn't look back. Across the street, Walter leaned against the hood of his truck. For the first time, his face was not one of victory. It was silence. Noah saw him and just stared, without saying a word. The bus drove away. Emily stood there holding her son, watching the vehicle disappear down the road. But the story didn't end there. Months later, Emily started a blog telling Miguel's story. The post went viral. His name appeared in newspapers, debates, and classrooms. Miguel was deported, but his voice stayed, and it echoed louder than any white picket fence.